The second transfer window under the 49ers has just come to a close. It's been a strange one for us, for Leeds, by the way, because we've had a lot of outgoings and only one incoming. So I wanted to start off by going over some of the outgoings and just how you feel about them and if you think that any of them are negative, really. The first one I've got is Poveda, who made a move to Sheffield Wednesday on practically deadline day.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? He looked really good in pre-season, Poveda, and you're thinking it could be a dangerous asset, but when you look at how the season's panned out and the kind of ammunition that we've got on the left and the right, we've got good players. I mean, we've got, obviously we're starting most of the time, Somerville and James, and then back up to them, you've got Nonto and Anthony. It's just, he's not going to get in. So I think it's a good move for us and for him to loan him out, get some game time in a team that's struggling. He could probably be a standout player for him. So I think it's a good move. Yeah,
it's a weird one with Poveda because he actually had over 15 appearances in the Premier League with Leeds in that Bielsa season. Yeah. And obviously you have Pep Guardiola saw something in him, Bielsa saw something in him.
And
you think
two do. Then there's got to be something there, aren't there?
Yeah, but I don't know. He's not going to get in the team, as you said. It's a bit of a shame because I think if he genuinely had a run of games starting, he'd do quite well. But for us, for the rest of the season, I don't really think it makes a difference. And I think getting him off the wage bill is probably quite a big positive. And then the next outgoing is Jed Spence. Spence came in with massive expectations.
Yeah, he did. He really did. He was, I think he was the Championship's best right-back in the season that Nottingham Forest got promoted. So you look at that and you think, can he replicate that for us? Right-back with Ayling being past his best. He kind of wanted somebody to be exciting in that position. Like, he was really attack-minded. He thought he could add something to the team, but there's stuff that's gone on behind closed doors, and obviously if his attitude's not right, his punctuality's not great, then fair enough. It's good to see from Farker. He's not standing for it. So
I agree. A lot of Leeds fans were really upset by this one when he first went, but I actually saw something yesterday. Phil Hay tweeted that Spence was set up with a meeting with Fark, so him and Fark had arranged a meeting to discuss his lateness and his disciplinary issues at the club, and he turned up late to that meeting.
Well, that says it all, doesn't it?
That's fully taking the piss, though, isn't it? So when you hear that, I think as a fan of any football club, if you know that a player's taking liberties like that, then you're just going to want him gone. And it's a shame because he clearly is a decent footballer, but I never even saw anything that special from him.
No, well, Warnock said he's got the ability to be a Premier League player, but his attitude is just not right. And attitude can go from everything to punctuality as well. It's just disrespectful. You're getting paid. You're not going to keep turning up to work late and expect not to get some sort of disciplinary action. And it's probably just the right thing to do. We've got to move on from it.
Yeah, we may as well touch on his replacement while we're here, and that's Connor Roberts.
Yeah, solid signing, solid bit of business. I mean, a lot of fans are really getting at the club saying, what are we doing? We need these positions filling, blah, 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 blah. But January is a sticky window, as Fark keeps saying in his pressers. They're not going to get somebody for the sake of getting somebody, just to keep people happy and just to get numbers in. It has to be the right fit, the right attitude and the right kind of player.
Well, we've done that a million times, haven't we? In the Radrizani Auto era, we were just signing fucking nobodies 24/7.
Yeah.
And it's like, now at least there's a clear thought process and recruitment process in place where we're only signing players that are actually better than the ones we have now. He was in the Championship Team of the Year last year.
Yeah, exactly.
To come in for the last 6 months a year, bringing someone in like that when we're challenging for promotion, whether it be automatics or playoffs, that's the type of player you want in the squad. And I think in comparison to Spence, it's a fantastic signing.
Yeah, I'd say so, because he's got the right attitude.
We've gone from someone who was the best right-back in the Championship a couple seasons ago with an attitude problem to someone that was the best right-back in the Championship last season that wants to be here and doesn't have an attitude problem.
Exactly, wants to play football. And he said in his, I watched his little interview that he did when he initially signed, and he said whether that be starting every week or just being helpful behind closed doors, because he's got the right mentality. He knows what it takes to win in the Championship, because Burnley were a machine last year. So it's a good person to have on board and a clever bit of business, really.
And another right-back that has gone is Luke Ayling.
Yeah, fair play.
It's a sad time, though, isn't it?
Recent Leeds legend, as far as I'm concerned. I know people say that term gets thrown around too lightly, but I don't think so with him. He's been a solid servant to the club, always give his all. And to be fair, it was time for him to go. If he wants to play football, I'm happy for him. I hope he does well.
Hundreds of appearances for the club. There was a time when we were smashing it in the Premier League under Bielsa. There was some whisperings of him even getting an England call
up, and that's just like, that goes down to Bielsa, doesn't it? He got Patrick Bamford an England call up, good striker, but not on an international level. But yeah, he was a pivotal part to the success. He really was.
I'm I'm happy to see Ayling go for his sake and for a footballing sake. But as you said, I feel like it's weird as a Leeds fan. I hold the like Bielsa era in such high regard. All of those players, there's barely any left now. When one leaves, it kind of like a part of me leaves with it. It actually makes me a little bit sad, a little bit emotional, because I think that was probably what will be for the rest of my life my favourite period of Leeds United.
Yeah, well, it was the best that we'd seen, really, wasn't it?
We went from shit to playing unbelievable football. Bro, that season in the Premier League, we were like 4 points off European spots.
The following season, our points tally would have got European football as well, so it's a shame how things happened, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it was the lack of backing that played Bielsa, but let's not jump into that too much. We've got one more outgoing that I wanted to mention, and that's Hjelde. Because I think he had a really tough time at Leeds. He had a couple of appearances, and I remember specifically, I think it was, we played someone in the Cup, and I was there at Ellen Road. Weird that I can't remember it when I was actually there, but I'm there all the time, so, you know. And he was getting a lot of stick from the crowd because every time he got the ball, he was just playing it backwards. Mm-hmm. But it's like, he's a 19-year-old lad who's never started for us, really. And when the whole crowd's getting on his back,
it doesn't really help, does it?
And he was only in there because of injuries. It wasn't. He didn't have the best start to his career at Leeds, and I think that from that point, he's just never really been given another opportunity.
No, not fully. He's not had a chance to fully find his feet, has he?
Yeah.
But that's probably another one that is a good move for him personally, I guess.
Yeah, and that's in a permanent to Sunderland. So I think he could be okay as well, especially at Sunderland, like a little bit less expectation.
He's got talent, do you know what I mean? There's no denying that he's got potential as well, and he's still young right now, so I hope it goes well for him.
Yeah, me too. All the best, Hjelde. How do you think the 49ers are doing overall in terms of transfers?
Well, I feel like summer, it was always going to be a sticky one. We were left in a really bad position by previous ownership, which Fark was vocal about, and we always knew it were going to be sticky. But the players that we've got in, I've fallen in love with quite a lot of them, literally. So I'm going to be happy. I'm happy with it. Even the January window, I'm happy with it. They're quite discreet about the way that they do things as well, which is fine. Overall, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, me too. I think, especially in the summer, the signings we've made were super smart. You've got Ampadu, who's set the world alight in the Championship. He's played practically every minute for us. Yeah. He has been 10 out of 10 in terms of a quality signing. Pirot obviously was one of the Championship top scorers last season. That
was a smart one, yeah.
Just smart, didn't pay too much for him. Admittedly, his time at Leeds, he's done really well stats-wise, but I feel like in comparison to the other attackers, he just doesn't have that extra step of flair. When you're looking at Somerville, Dan James, even Nonto when he comes on, I think Pirot's just missing a little bit of that pace, but he's also a really good finisher.
Yeah, he's got the confidence to finish. Like, he's composed, but when you looking at him, I know the different positions. When you're looking at somebody up front, like at top of the pitch against the likes of Somerville, you're gonna look a little bit fucking slow, aren't you?
Yeah.
But I don't know. He's still got time to settle, and obviously there's been talk about him when he's been playing behind Rutter, and people think that it should be the other way around, which I think is valid. But we've been doing all right. We've been doing well this season, and we've been getting wins. So something's obviously going right.
Yeah, you can't complain with the attack at the minute, can you?
all.
Especially like Bamford. He'll get a lot of hate, and I'm the first one to hate on him most of the time, to be honest. But he's looked really good since he came back.
He's a massive confidence player, Bamford, as well, I think. So when things are going his way, he can just keep going with it, which is good to see, because sometimes when you're in a bit of a rut as a striker, it's really hard to get out of. But once you get that goal and you get out of it, then you're just smiling when you play, and that's a massive difference.
You mentioned a lot of the players that, well, maybe not a lot of the players that went out specifically, but how tough the summer transfer window was. And for a bit of context, if anyone listening doesn't know, Leeds lost fucking pretty much the whole starting 11 throughout the summer. There was only a couple that stayed. And most of them went out on loan, because when we signed them, we put contract stipulations in that meant if we got relegated, they could leave the club on loan without any questions asked, pretty much. So out of those players, Aronson, Rocker, Sinistera, Wober, Christensen, the list goes on. Is there any that, whether we stay up or go down, that you'd actually want back in the squad?
I think one, I don't know how other Leeds fans will feel, but I'm not mad at Jack Harrison for going.
I forget about Harrison as well.
Because you've got to remember, I think it was last January when he got sent off? I don't know if it was to Everton. He was on his way pretty much. Deal was getting done, and then they were just like, "No, we want you back." They pretty much, and then they give him a new contract. It was just a lot of. I think it was poorly managed. But
Yeah, the previous ownership poorly managed.
yeah, definitely. And he's one that I wouldn't hate seeing back, to be fair, because he always gives his all. But players like Aronson and that don't want to see him in the shirt ever
What
again.
about Rocker?
Rocker?
I actually thought Rocker was all right.
He was all right, but they don't do anything for me. Them lot, they really don't. Especially when Rocker's more of a midfield, and we've got better players than him now, I think.
Yeah, true. Do you think any of them will now want to come back though?
I don't know. It depends on our situation, doesn't it? If we go up, some of them might be like, "Oh yeah, well, it's only a loan. I could go back," but not a lot of them would be welcome back.
But then, if they, this is what I mean though. It then puts the current ownership in a sticky situation because a lot of them are on Premier League level contracts that are quite long.
But I think some of them you'd be able to sell a few of them, but you just might not be getting the price that you'd hope for. But if it gets them off the books and it gets them off permanently, then happy days. I mean, I know it's bad for them, but they inherited a mess.
Yeah,
and it's not a mess that's going to sort itself out in just a season. Even if we do go up, there's still going to be these kind of altercations, isn't there? Because that's how bad it was.
Speaking of loanees, Rodon, he's been one of the best centre-backs in the league and certainly our best centre-back throughout the season. Yeah. How much do you think we'll end up having to pay Tottenham should we want to sign him in the summer, which obviously Leeds fans want, but...
It'll probably be similar to a Ben White situation. I know he's a bit older, but they'll definitely be wanting about 25 million at least, I'd say.
Ben White was like a 50 million situation.
I know, but you've got to think he was like 21, 22, so it's obviously going to boost it up within a prospect of England international, do you know what I mean? I mean, Rodon, I know he's a Welsh international, but the level's just different. Yeah. But they're definitely going to want at least that. But obviously, we can't fall in love with loan players, but I've fallen. And the thing is,
hard, baby.
His brother's always active on Twitter as well, you know, going on about Leeds. And everybody in the comments is just like, get him to sign on permanent just constantly. And he was tweeting that Connor Roberts saying, "Oh, should we go for a coffee?" Do you know, the other day when there was talk of him signing. So if his brother's invested, he must be. So
I pray that we end up keeping him come the end of the season, whether we go up or stay down. I think, obviously, getting promoted makes it a lot more likely. Speaking of which, what do you think now, at this current point in time, our chances of promotion actually look like? By the way, Ellis is usually Mr. Optimist, so I'm waiting to see what this answer is going to be.
I'd love to say automatic, and I do think it's going to be between us and Southampton. I think Ipswich are going to fall off. They've done excellent. They're overachieving. It's fantastic to see them coming up from League One to compete like this, but I do think it'll be between us and Southampton. The interesting thing is we play them at home on the last day.
Sorry, if you can hear the cat.
You can hear the cat. She obviously agrees with something that I'm saying.
Yeah.
But we play Southampton at home on the last game of the season at Ellen Road as well, which is massively favourable. If it comes down to that, then that could be a blockbuster. It really could. But I don't know. Playoffs, nobody wants that. But we could still win it. I know we've always got this.
Well, you would expect us to be the best team in the playoffs should we end up in the playoffs.
You'd hope so, wouldn't you? But I mean, you've got to say playoffs is probably the best way to go up. Apart from securing automatics on the last season, but I mean in terms of the feeling to win in the final.
The feeling, yeah. Imagine a day out at Wembley. That'd be incredible.
Exactly, it'd be great. And nobody really wants that, but you take what you can get. And if that's how we go up, that's how we go up. I just think we need to do it, obviously.
Yeah, we need to get back up this season, really. But I think that it will probably end up being Leicester and Southampton in those automatic spots, to be honest. Although, I do stand by the fact of, in the Championship, every team has a wobble. And I feel like we maybe had ours after Christmas, losing 2 games in a row. The morale was really down. The fans were starting to get a little bit aggy. Since then, we've obviously won 5 league games in a row, which is, by the way, the first ever time that's happened at the start of a year in Leeds United's history. So we're on a run at the minute. And at some point, I don't know when this will be, at some point Southampton will wobble. They won't win every game. No, we just need to stay on their backs until they wobble, and that could be it.
Keep winning, grinding out results. I mean, last night, Troy Deeney on the panel, he said that we've won 5 in a row, but he still doesn't think that we're at our best yet. And I don't actually think we are either, but we're getting results, which is brilliant. I think it could really be scary for the rest of the league.
It's that finishing touch for us, isn't it? We're really good. We create multiple chances, and we only end up finishing 1 or 2 of them a game. If we had like a 30% conversion rate of chances, we'd be fucking unbelievable. We'd be absolutely smoking teams, but it just doesn't quite click like that.
No, and it might do at some point, and then just imagine it just clicks, and they start doing it week in, week out, putting teams to bed like we're not doing, and it could be scary for the teams that are in front of us. It could be, but it's all if buts and maybes in it. We'll just have to see.
Well, imagine the scenes at Ellen Road if it came down to that last game against Southampton and we won. I think I'd die.
It'd be party time.
I think I actually think I'd cry.
Yeah,
I'd cry and then die.
I just remember being in the stadium against Tottenham last season when we went down, just to directly compare the last day of last season and this season. If that was the case, it could just be, that's the beauty of the game.
Yeah, but then also imagine if you need to win and you go up automatically and you lose, that's when it's depressing.
I know, so it would be super depressing, but then you've got to think, all right, well, playoffs and get your head straight back into it.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe. Maybe not for more Leeds content. There'll be a little bit more, but football content. Peace.